What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, checking out a brand new Blackwing support card that just got revealed. This is coming out of the Duelist Pack 20. If you have not been keeping up, Blackwings are getting a plethora of supports in this set, including so far 3 really good monsters. Konami has actually revealed to us, and we've got basically a new synchro that's better than Towers. We have a Black Whirlwind Searcher, and then we have a card that's a tuner, but actually summons from the Banish pile, which is really good with Allure of Darkness. Actually synergizes with the Black Whirlwind Searcher. So far, all the support that they have shown us has been excellent. I actually think that they've outdone themselves, especially considering Blackwings are, like a fucking 2009 archetype. But this is actually a counter trap, which is interesting because I don't really associate counter traps with Blackwings that much. Blackwings have a whole bunch of trap cards, but no notable counter traps from what I could tell. This is Blackbird Close counter trap. You can also activate this card from your hand if you control a Blackwing Synchro Monster or Blackwing Dragon. Okay, fair enough, especially considering they're getting a new synchro. When a monster your opponent controls activates an effect, you can send one Blackwing monster you control to the graveyard. That's the cost of the card. Negate the activation, and if you do destroy that card, then you can special summon one Blackwing Dragon from your extra deck. Okay, so to me, this is a card with great potential, and I actually like this card a lot, but I can understand why some people would probably say you don't need to run this card. It's not going to be very consistent, and I think that there are going to be a lot of people who actually just say that this card is outright bad, although I feel like you can argue for both sides. Let's go ahead and start with the bad, right? I think one of the biggest downsides of this card is, and I'm not even going to go with the obvious one. The obvious one would be that you can't activate it unless you have a Blackwing monster on the field. I'll get to that, but to me, the biggest downside of this card is the fact that you only get to stop monster effects that activate on the field. That leaves so much just for you not to be covered with. Mainly, it's going to be hand traps, right? If your opponent uses Ghost Ogre on your Black Whirlwind, you can't stop it. If your opponent ashes your Allure of Darkness, you can't stop it. If your opponent activates something in the graveyard, I don't know, whether they have, Fairy Tale Snow or something like that activating in the grave, and they can only use it once because they only have that many cards in the graveyard, you're not covered in any of those situations. And let's just look at it from a hand trap perspective. I mean, people play Called by the Grave just to basically stop hand traps. We know hand traps are not going away anytime soon, and being covered against those hand traps would be very, very beneficial to you. Unfortunately, this card, unlike something like Solemn Strike, doesn't actually cover you. The fact is, you also have to have a Blackwing monster on the field because you do have to actually tribute that monster, and that is a little bit of a shame. I feel like that's actually one of the biggest reasons, probably the biggest reason, that people don't run Black Sonic, which Black Sonic is actually kind of like a power creep version of Mirror Force, where it actually banishes your opponent's monsters, but Black Sonic never really caught on because your opponent has to attack a Blackwing monster, which means if they just attack you directly, hell, even if they attack a monster on your side of the field that isn't a Blackwing monster, you can't really use Black Sonic. And having to control that monster on the field, it can kind of be a deterrent for not running these cards because you generally want your cards to be live in all situations. However, if the upside is high enough, we've seen with cards like Satellar Nova Alpha, people will always play the counter trap. Now, the thing is, this card does have a significant upside. Number one, and one of the biggest things about this card can be activated from the hand, and we're seeing it right now, especially in this format, how big trap cards that can be activated from the hand are. I mean, let's think about some of the most popular trap cards in the game. I was watching a video by Simo yesterday, the top 5 side deck cards in the game, and almost every trap that he put on there was something that could be activated from the hand. You look at cards like Red Reboot and Evenly Match and Infinite Impermanence. All of these new age trap cards can kind of be activated from the hand, and it makes it, it gives the card a huge surprise factor. It makes it so that they're never susceptible to those Twin Twisters. Well, I'm not going to say never susceptible, but they don't have to be susceptible as much to the Twin Twisters, the Cosmic Cyclone. If your opponent tributes the True Draco spell, you know what I mean? Just having a little bit of protection is definitely nice. Also, the fact is, this can give you a 2800 beater. Now, I don't know about you guys, but every time that I used to play Starlight Road back in the day, and I got that Stardust Dragon, that free 500 beater, even if the Stardust Dragon didn't come back when it was dead because it wasn't properly summoned, a la the same way that this the Blackwing Dragon would work, just having that huge boss monster that my opponent had to actually deal with was huge. I mean, most of the time, well, not most of the time, I think I only lost one duel ever where I actually resolved Starlight Road and got the Stardust on field. I kind of feel like it could be the same. Now, Master Rule 4 has cucked out a little bit, where if you happen to have a big synchro monster on your, extra monster zone, and you don't have a zone open to summon this guy because you don't have a link monster, you're not getting that Blackwing Dragon, and that kind of sucks. But if you resolve this and you get that Blackwing Dragon, I think that you're probably going to actually win the duel. And let's be real, even though this doesn't hit hand traps, and it doesn't hit cards from the graveyard, it is a very practical card. Your opponent, like the odds of your opponent activate or going the entire duel without activating like one key monster effect on field, whether that be something like an Ortho Scorpio or just some other card that's like really important, in ABC Buster Dragon, like it's going to happen. That Trickstar Candina search, you're going to negate the Alistair, and chances are you're going to be like, damn, that probably just won me the duel. I think tributing the monster, sending that to the graveyard is kind of irrelevant because Blackwings can continually put like they especially with Black Whirlwind being searchable, you're gonna have like a Boro or some shitty Blackwing, a Zephyros the Elite that you don't really care about. I don't really see you giving up one of your Blackwing synchro monsters unless it's kind of a desperate play. But even if you do, that means that your extra monster zone should be open and you should replace that monster with a Blackwing Dragon. I think that this card is almost identical to something like Altergeist Conqueror, right? Altergeist Conqueror is a card that I absolutely love. I would not play Altergeist with it. Even when I signed it out, I'm like, oh my goodness, I want it so bad. I need it in this situation. But if you look at like the regional top 8 decks for Altergeist, only about half of them play Conqueror. And I feel like this is one of those, like, you see a lot of benefits, but you also see the drawbacks. Like, if you wanted to say, Cap, Solemn Strike is just better all around, I feel you. But if you also wanted to say, no, Cap, I'm just going to run 1 or 2 copies of this because the fact that it can be used from the hand, the fact that it gives me a 2800 beater, which I guess could be relevant against Trickstars, that's the only thing. I see it really capitalizing on or hard countering. I could see that argument too. I mean, me personally, I think it's a good card. I just don't think it's necessary. And we as a community have to accept that sometimes, that not every good card is going to be like a staple in its archetype. There are going to be cards like Saberhole or cards like Black Sonic that are really good cards, but you just don't need to run them in the archetype. And I kind of feel like this card fits that mold. But maybe you guys disagree, and that's perfectly fine. Whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Turn on that notification bell for daily videos.